AskReddit by Monitor. What prevents most people from getting rich? Most jobs that are necessary for society to function are low paid. C. Teachers or EMT. The fact that it's mathematically impossible for most people to be rich. Yeah, but there could be a less cutthroat mindset where more people feel like they're rich because their quality of life is held to a higher standard by society and the government. I don't need $1 billion. I think most just want to be able to afford groceries, health insurance, and rent all in the same month. It's much easier to stay in the social class you were born into, and it's getting harder to be middle class anymore even if you are born into it. I would dare any average rich person to grow up in poverty and see where they end up. Many successful people refuse to acknowledge the cycle of poverty. They always think that if they were born poor that they alone would rise above the statistics. There are a lot of wealthy people who are wealthy because they were born in the right place at the right time to the right family that has the right connections. It's the old born on third base and thinking you've hit a home run when you walk to the home plate. If you're a black kid, born to a single mother who's on public assistance and has a substance abuse problem, and you live in public housing in a remote town in Mississippi, and the schools you attend are overcrowded and underfunded, you have to work very, very hard just to survive, let alone get rich. The odds are against you. There are a lot of poor people who were born on second base and got pissed off because they thought they didn't have to run to get to third base and got out instead. I wasn't born rich. That's where you went wrong in life. Who you know is very important. If you're well connected, you have the luxury of making one phone call and getting a job. I've always said it's not what you know, it's who you know. Even the self-made millionaires would have to admit it's easier to stick your neck out if you know there's a fallback option, whether it be family or friends, to keep you from going homeless. I own my own business now but are in no way wealthy, but if I would have known a single misstep would put me out on the street, it'd be a whole lot harder to strike out on my own. Older rich people. The wealthy are very invested in making sure not too many others are able to join their ranks. Luck, the myriad factors that contribute to someone getting wealthy that are not under their control. Exactly. There are lots of hard-working, highly intelligent people who don't have great jobs where they make loads of money. Hard work and smarts did not equate to success for them. Likewise, there is no shortage of dumbasses who have continuously fallen upwards and forward their entire lives. If everybody is rich, nobody is rich. Not to mention that luck plays a huge part in getting the opportunity to change your circumstances. I compare it to musicians. I know a lot of musicians who are incredibly talented and probably better than 99% of the touring musicians that are out there, but they either stick to session work or are happier working 9 to 5 than never being home. Talent doesn't equal success. Does that mean if we make everyone poor we eliminated poverty? I like avocado toast and Starbucks. Lack of connections. In the UK, a lot of it is to do with class and upbringing. Examples: a work colleague of my wife, daughter of Vice Admiral Humphrey Spiffington Smythe. Went to exclusive school, went to a debutant's ball, met third son of very established, very rich family, lived happily ever after. Example 2. Son of a medical consultant and a London barrister. Lawyer, profoundly stupid, and despite prestigious school AMD private tutoring he managed to fail at everything. One of his dad's friends found him something in the city and he drives around in his Ferrari like he owns the world despite a room temperature IQ. Not having money, or someone with money willing to mentor you. Well, being filthy rich is mostly luck. But being relatively wealthy, i.e. $200k plus a year, is more about the ability to make yourself valuable. Not everyone is willing to exploit others for their own gain. Not everyone comes from a wealthy family. Many insanely rich people, for example Musk, were born into old money families. Taxes. The more wealthy you are, the more loopholes to save taxes there are. Your parents' socio-economic status is the #1 predictor of yours. In spite of the "my ex was poor and I'm rich" anecdotes whenever I post this statistic. The desire to stay in large centers where the fun things are. I moved from a LCOL area to an HCOL area. I was never strapped for money in the LCOL area, and there wasn't anything interesting to do within 45 miles. Now I can walk down the street and get into trouble anytime. Hugely underrated factor. Do you want to just do nothing and hoard wealth? All ever bid considering that absolutely nothing is guaranteed, including your health? Spending too much money while not making enough money. Many of the super rich admit that they kind of fell into it, but it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Meaning as you can't win the lottery if you don't play. Almost no one does. In fact, statistically speaking, nearly all of us will die in the exact same socio-economic bracket we were born into. The concept of upward mobility is at this point mostly way to keep lower income and poorly educated peoples endlessly working, but also aimed at folks out there living paycheck to paycheck but purchasing luxury items on a cycle. New phone every year, a never-ending car payment, an oversized house with a bad interest rate and a 45-year mortgage. The whole thing is a bad joke. Hustle culture is a scam. I've changed brackets by a lot from where my parents were, but I'm still not wealthy and likely never will be, and I'd say that 90% of the change I did make came down to luck, not ability. Most people want to spend $1 million, not have $1 million. That's what keeps most people from becoming rich, at least in the sense of becoming millionaires. Learn about the power of compound interest, start saving and investing as early as you can, even if it's just a little bit each month, and as your salary grows, live on your old salary and invest the rest. Getting rich as a common man takes time. They say the first million is the hardest, but in 7 years, $1 million becomes $2 million, and 7 years later, $2 million becomes $4 million, etc., etc. For some inspirational stories about common people becoming millionaires, and some tricks along the way, read The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. Living outside of your means. I know so many people does this. And yes, they are the ones struggle financially the most. Trapped in never-ending debt. Not being born into the right family. We love the myth of self-made men in America, but it rarely happens. Most people at the top were born at or near the top and made a short climb to success. Then they try to spin some rag to riches story afterwards. Most people that are wealthy have advantages that you don't. Everyone is talking about inheritance and education, but another huge one is nepotism. Hey, wealthy best friend, my daughter is about to turn 18 with no real career path and subpar grades. Do you have any triple-digit salary openings at your company? Or, I'm about to retire and need to pick a new company owner. How about my son who has no real qualifications other than being derived from my bowel sac? Spending money on useless crap. Like myself. I have this weird habit of visiting the gas station when I drive home from work. Spending my well-earned money on Red Bull, crisps or other candy that will only make me fat in the long run and is super expensive. If I cut that crap, then I could actually lose some weight and have more money. This is more a note to myself. Do whatever you want with it. 9-5 Job. Lack of desire to do what needs to be done to be rich. You can live in a one-room apartment, working 12+ hours a day, spending your money only on the bare necessities and have an excess of income which can be used to make even more money. Most people simply won't live like that, though. Most wage slaves wouldn't ever be rich even if they saved everything they ever made. Even putting away $60K a year starting at 25 with 2% increase in savings every year adds 7% growth, you'd barely be low-end rich by the time you die. Good deal for your nieces and nephews who will inherit your money, I guess.